Hey everyone, back again with a new template design release. This one is called Marked Up. So I thought we would take just a minute here and take a quick look at the layer options in here. This is pretty easy to use. This is kind of, the idea of this one is kind of like a whiteboard or, pad and paper where just some words and stuff and sketches get scribbled down, and just kind of going for something a little bit different, maybe slightly retro in some aspects, and yeah, hopefully it's kind of fun and you get a lot of use out of this one. So let's take a look here at the layers. So at the top are the normal color grading layers that I like to add to my designs. So there's 3 different ones in here. Feel free to turn these on and off to see what each of them do. Feel free to play with opacities to create whatever effect that you would like out of that. So yeah, you can change the strength of that just by changing opacities or turning layers off and on. Don't forget to look at layer names. Are always going to tell you what's going on in each of these layers, and always watch for groups. So if you're unfamiliar with groups, it's going to be the little arrow. It looks like there's a folder by it. So if you click on that, it's going to expand and have layers within it. Alright, so if we go down from the color grading layers group, we have a couple of layers here. So this one I call the facial highlight boost. I just like to pop the highlights on the faces just a little bit of my subjects. So I add these layers in here to do that. Really, it's just a masked layer where you're going to paint over the mask with white to reveal some of that brightness. And again, you can change opacities and things on these. You're going to see that one of these, if we extend this out, this bottom one is for lighter skin tones, and the upper one is for darker skin tones. And we'll just take a look at that in just a minute on a subject. Below that's a simple year. This is just a normal text layer. So there's 3 different fonts in this. These fonts are all linked on the product page, so you can link directly to where I've used these sample fonts from. So it's 3 different marker style fonts, so it gives it kind of that randomness of handwriting. So I thought that worked out pretty good. And so again, just normal text layers to turn off and on. You can see there's some effects on here. So currently the stroke line and the drop shadow are the only 2 effects turned on. If you wanted to change that stroke color, we would just double click on stroke here, which would open up our layer style window, and we can click on the color and change that stroke line to any color that we like. So you could type in a value, you could use your color picker to sample a value or anything. So we'll cancel out of that for now. As we go down here we'll see a layer clipped to a group. So the clipping layers as notified by this little arrow here showing it kind of coming out of the left side, pointing down below it. That just means it's affecting only the items in that group, or if it's clipped to a layer, it's only affecting that layer. And what is in this group is this bottom graphic here. So that's just these couple of swipe marks here, which is where the subject's going to fade into, basically cut off at there. And so I just set up a simple color change on this. So that's this clipped layer here. So it's just a solid color fill. So you could double click on this. Again, you could sample a jersey color, you could type in a color, or you could come up here and select any color from here. It's very easy to change that. You are also going to notice on all of the text and everything, even on this bottom here, I've added this effect so it feels kind of like streaky, again, like a marker running out of ink, or like a whiteboard or something like that. And this is done through masking. So anywhere you see that effect, there's masks that affect this. So you'll see right here is this mask that's affecting this bottom graphic. So for instance, if we hold shift and click on the mask, you would see it just disables that effect. So if you wanted to remove that effect, you could just temporarily disable that by shift clicking on the mask. Alright, if we drop down here, this is going to be where our subject goes. This is the subject group, and we see it's denoted as such, subject in this group. And on my templates, I try to make all of those red, so you see immediately where the subject goes. Now, on this one, I do want to point out that this is a double nested group. So if we open this group, there is another group that needs to be opened, and then that's where we place the image. And you can see I've got a subject ready to go in here, which we'll turn back on in just a minute. But we get this layer here, subject here. So just make sure the subject goes in this group at this subject here level. And I do this because there's kind of some double effects going on. So one is the masking, which is going to kind of cut the subject off. And the other is a drop shadow that's going to automatically get applied to the subject. So why does it need to be double nested? Well, if we turn the subject on, if I take him out of this group and into the one above it, and let's say we were to move this drop shadow just to a single group, you can see this drop shadow kind of comes down below this graphic and everything, and I just didn't like the look of that. Alright, so to handle that, I just do a nested group where the group below it is getting the drop shadow and everything is getting masked up here. So that's why that's nested that way. Alright, so we'll turn that off temporarily. Below that, name, number, arrows, and lines. So that's this top for the subject's name and these arrows and things here. So if we expand this group, again, there's effects getting applied, such as the stroke and the drop shadow and things like that. So same as the year above is how you would change those. We can expand this group, and within here we have several layers. So here's our left arrow, so that's that one there, our right arrow, and here's these little just decorative kind of exclamation lines here. Again, those can be turned off, moved, anything. And then simple color changes, again, for each of these is just a solid color layer. So you could use the picker, you could pick a color, however you would like to change those for each of those. And then below that are, again, simple text layers, so it's just a text change. So if we wanted to change this first name, we would just double click on the text, and we could change that name very simply. Click the check mark to apply. So all simple text layers. So let's close this group up. Now below that is our right and left side text. So these are grouped also in order to allow the masking for this streaky effect. And so, for instance, if I open this up, I wanted this to just be simple text with no mask, so it's easy to move this text around if we want. So for instance, if I wanted to change this to the Wildcats, and I wanted to resize this, I could drag this around, make it bigger or smaller, and you'll see that streaky effect doesn't change because of how I have it in this group. Now, if you wanted to change it, so let's apply this. If you wanted to move that effect around, well, you can just grab the mask on the group, and you can see I have them unlinked right now, which means once that mask is selected, you can move this around, and if you wanted to make it a little more streaky and grungy, you could do that just by pushing that around a little bit. So same on this other side. If you wanted to move that effect around, you could move all of that as well. Okay, so that's customizable as well. Once we get below those, we've got, you can see another clipped layer here to this group, and this group is the background text and graphics. So that's the X's and O's with the arrows and the text up here. Alright, so a quick color change for all of that together. Same thing. Use the color picker, type the value in, grab a color from up here, however you'd like to make that change. Very simple to do. You can see here it's got the streaky effect applied to everything here. You could shift click if you wanted to remove that. We can expand this group, and I just have a bunch of random text things in here for now, just because I was making some samples and I was like, you know what, I'll leave a few of these in here, but again, it's text. You can customize it to be whatever you want. So I had a couple football ones, a couple soccer ones, a couple baseball, and a couple basketball. So again, you can make them say whatever you want, and you can move them around anywhere you want to kind of create the look that you like, or you could turn them off if you don't want them in there. Here you'll see all of these pieces are individually layered in case you want to move them or duplicate them or anything. I like things to be flexible, so again, all those are independently layered, so you can do as you like with those. Let's close that up. Below that we have kind of a background spotlight in here. That's really going to be noticeable with darker color backgrounds, which we'll see in just a second. Background texture. So if we turn that off, you can see what that background spotlight's doing. It's just helping create separation on darker backgrounds, but it's on by default because it really doesn't show a whole lot on the brighter one. So this is that texture. If we zoom in here, you can see it's giving just a little bit of texture, so it's kind of interesting in the background, and it's not just a plain color, you know, a plain white or plain color. Below that is our main background color. So if we double click on this, again, you can see as this darkens up, we're going to have, it's again really for dark colors so that there's like a spotlight effect in here to create some separation. And so if you wanted something more like this, you know, this is just set to light and blend mode. You could always play with blend modes to do something like a screen. You could do a color dodge if you wanted to be more vivid, which is kind of cool. So, you know, again, it's Photoshop, it's layers. Feel free to play around with all this. You could turn it off and on. You could change opacities up and down. So yeah, feel free to play, experiment, create looks that you like. For now, let's move this back to just like a brighter kind of color here. And I'm going to switch this back to lighten. There we go. Alright, so that's all of the layers that's in here. So again, it's really just as simple as dropping a subject into this group and sizing. You know, so if this wasn't already sized, we could just transform our subject here, make them bigger or smaller, whatever size we want it to be. You can see the drop shadow gets automatically applied. Just line them up wherever we want here and apply this. And then again, what I like to do with this facial highlight boost, since he's got lighter skin tones, is I would just select the mask for this lighter skin one, grab a white brush, maybe let's bring this flow up a little bit here, and then just paint in over his face. And that's just going to, again, it's going to pop those highlights a little bit, and then I can play with opacity and things to make those however bright or dark that I want. And, you know, if his forehead's a little bit bright there, I would just take black and remove that a little. So there we go. So we just get the main part of his face. And so I just like the look of that better. Alright, so hopefully you find it's that simple to use. Not anything too crazy, but just watch the layer names. Check out this video. Hopefully you watched it all the way through and gives you some ideas and thoughts here. And I hope you have a ton of fun with this one. More importantly, I hope it makes you a lot of money. Thanks. See you on the next one.